the southern edge of Illinois, a federal penitentiary operates under a shadow shaped by fear, ideology, and control. United States Penitentiary, Marion stands as one of the most consequential institutions in modern American prison history. Its reputation does not come from architecture or size. It comes from a series of crises that permanently alter how the federal government manages perceived threats behind bars. Among them is a bomb scare that unfolds during a volatile era of political radicalism, mistrust, and institutional anxiety. This story is not about an explosion. No device detonates. No building collapses. Yet the impact is lasting. The fear itself becomes operational reality. Policies harden. Surveillance expands. Isolation deepens. The response to a threat that is never fully confirmed reshapes daily life for thousands of incarcerated people and staff. It also accelerates the transformation of Marion into a testing ground for extreme security. If stories like this matter to you, consider subscribing, because what happens next reveals how this system truly works. Marion opens in 1963 as a high-security federal prison. It is designed to replace Alcatraz as the Bureau of Prisons' most secure facility. From the beginning, it houses individuals the federal government considers uniquely dangerous. Over time, that definition expands. By the late 1970s, Marion holds not only organized crime figures and escape risks, but also politically motivated prisoners tied to radical movements. This period is defined by instability outside prison walls. The United States is still processing the aftershocks of the Vietnam War, domestic unrest, and political violence. Radical groups operate across ideological lines. Left-wing organizations engage in bombings and armed actions. Right-wing extremist networks also gain traction. Federal law enforcement responds with aggressive surveillance and counterintelligence. That mindset enters the prison system. Marion becomes a focal point. The prison houses individuals associated with groups like the Weather Underground, the Black Liberation Army, and other revolutionary or nationalist movements. Some are convicted of violent acts. Others are linked through association or ideology. Their presence creates internal tension. It also creates external fear within the Bureau of Prisons. Administrators view Marion not only as a prison, but as a potential staging ground for coordinated disruption. They worry about communication between inmates and outside networks. They monitor mail, visits, and legal correspondence. Intelligence gathering becomes central to daily operations. Within this environment, rumors carry weight. A single report can trigger sweeping action. That is the context in which the bomb scare emerges. The precise origin of the bomb threat is difficult to reconstruct. Official records confirm that during this period, prison authorities receive intelligence suggesting a possible explosive device or coordinated attack linked to radical supporters outside the prison. The information is fragmentary. It comes through informants, intercepted communications, and law enforcement channels already primed to expect violence. What matters is not the certainty of the threat. What matters is the belief that it could be real. The federal government has recent memory of bombings targeting courthouses, government buildings, and military facilities. Some of those attacks are tied to the same ideological currents represented inside Marion. Administrators operate under the assumption that prisons are not exempt from this danger. The response is immediate and severe. Marion enters heightened security status. Movement inside the prison is restricted. Lockdowns are imposed. Searches intensify. Staff conduct sweeps for contraband and potential devices. Mail is delayed or withheld. Visits are curtailed. Normal routines dissolve. Incarcerated people experience the consequences without explanation. Official communication is limited. The logic is simple. Information itself is treated as a security risk. The bomb scare does not exist in isolation. It intersects with ongoing protests and resistance inside the prison. Throughout the late 1970s, Marion sees hunger strikes, legal challenges, and organized complaints related to conditions of confinement. Many of these actions are led or supported by politically conscious prisoners. From the administration's perspective, protest and threat blur together. Collective action is interpreted as coordination. Ideological expression is interpreted as incitement. The bomb scare reinforces the belief that Marion is under siege. This belief shapes policy. Rather than treating the threat as temporary, officials begin to institutionalize the response. Lockdowns become longer. Isolation units expand. The concept of permanent control takes hold. Marion begins operating in a state that resembles emergency mode as standard practice. Intelligence failures play a central role. Despite exhaustive searches, no bomb is found. No device is recovered. No confirmed plot is publicly documented. Yet the absence of proof does not lead to de-escalation. Instead, it reinforces a different conclusion. The threat must be sophisticated. It must be hidden. It must require even more control. This logic becomes self-sustaining. Within the Bureau of Prisons, Marion is increasingly framed as a laboratory. Officials test measures that go beyond existing policy. Extended lockdowns. Near total cell confinement. Minimal human contact. These practices are justified as necessary to prevent catastrophic violence. The bomb scare becomes part of the institutional narrative. It is cited internally as evidence that radical movements are actively targeting federal prisons. It is used to argue that traditional correctional models are insufficient. The broader political climate supports this shift. The late 1970s and early 1980s mark a turn toward punitive criminal justice. Fear of disorder drives legislation and funding. National security concerns merge with domestic policing. Prisons are no longer just places of punishment. They are nodes in a security apparatus. Marion reflects that transformation. Staff members operate under constant alert. Training emphasizes threat detection and compliance. Relationships between guards and prisoners become more adversarial. Trust erodes. Every action is scrutinized for hidden meaning. For incarcerated people, daily life contracts. Time outside the cell diminishes. Programs disappear. Work assignments are suspended. Legal access becomes more difficult. The psychological effects accumulate, though they are rarely acknowledged in official documentation. The bomb scare also affects how outside observers view Marion. Journalists report on unrest and radical influence. Advocacy groups raise concerns about human rights violations. Lawsuits challenge conditions of confinement. The Bureau of Prisons responds by tightening control further. This cycle intensifies after 1983, when 2 correctional officers are killed in separate incidents involving incarcerated men at Marion. Although these events are not directly connected to the bomb scare, they are interpreted through the same lens of institutional vulnerability. Marion enters a permanent lockdown. From that point forward, the prison operates under conditions previously considered extraordinary. Inmates spend 23 hours a day in their cells. Social interaction is nearly eliminated. The model becomes known as the blueprint for the federal supermax system. The bomb scare is rarely discussed publicly in detail. It does not produce dramatic images or clear villains. Yet its influence is embedded in policy decisions that follow. It contributes to a mindset where perceived threat outweighs verified fact. Radical movements remain central to this narrative. The presence of politically motivated prisoners at Marion challenges the prison system's assumptions. These individuals are not easily categorized. They are often disciplined. They are often articulate. They use legal and political language to contest their treatment. Administrators interpret this as manipulation. Security officials interpret it as strategy. The bomb scare reinforces the idea that ideology itself is dangerous. This belief extends beyond Marion. As the federal government plans new facilities, it draws directly from Marion's practices. The Administrative Maximum Facility in Florence, Colorado, opens in the 1990s with Marion as its conceptual predecessor. Total control is no longer an experiment. It is doctrine. Looking back, the bomb scare illustrates how institutions respond under pressure. Faced with uncertainty, they default to expansion of power. They treat absence of evidence as evidence of sophistication. They normalize emergency measures. The consequences are structural. Once implemented, extreme controls are difficult to reverse. They become embedded in budgets, training, and legal frameworks. They reshape expectations of what incarceration looks like. For American viewers, this story challenges simple narratives about prison safety. It shows how fear operates inside bureaucracies. It shows how political context shapes correctional policy. It shows how unverified threats can have verified consequences. Marion's legacy is not defined by a single incident. It is defined by accumulation. Each scare, each protest, each act of resistance adds weight to the argument for control. The bomb scare is one of those moments where the balance tips. Today, Marion no longer houses the same population. Its role has shifted. But its influence remains. The logic developed there continues to guide federal prison management. Security is prioritized above all else. Isolation is framed as prevention. The story of the bomb scare is therefore not about what happens, but about what is believed to happen. It is about how belief becomes policy. It is about how prisons respond when ideology, fear, and authority collide. Inside Marion, the routines that follow are quiet and repetitive. Doors lock. Lights flicker. Meals slide through slots. The threat fades, but the measures remain. This is how a rumor becomes a regime. This is how a scare becomes a system. And this is how a prison designed for containment becomes a symbol of permanent control. If you think this story was intense, the next one will leave you speechless. Subscribe for more true crime stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat.